Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Marie's Bundesliga Minutes. Yesterday, you hopefully saw episode 12 of Marie's Bundesliga Minutes about who Joachim Löw, the German national team coach, should bring to the Euros, and about Dortmund having a basketball-like Big Five instead of a Big Three. But today, I want to call this episode 50+1 of Marie's Bundesliga Minutes. So we're skipping about 40 episodes, and that's because I want to zoom in on what is 50+1. On Sunday, we saw before the derby of Manchester United against Liverpool that club fans of Man United stormed Old Trafford's pitch. 4 times they were able to bypass security. They destroyed some of the tripods and camera equipment of TV crews. They scored bicycle kicks and just played on the pitch. It wasn't all fans there, but it was a significant minority. And some of the banners that fans outside of Old Trafford had said, besides save the soul of the club, they had banners calling for 50+1 in big block letters to be introduced to the Premier League and to Man United specifically. This, of course, as some context, is all a reaction to the recent tried and failed plan to introduce a European Super League of soccer with 12 rich teams and a guaranteed entry every year for those teams. And of those 12 teams, 4 are owned by Americans, one of them being Manchester United. Manchester United was acquired about 20 years ago by the Glazer family, and they are deeply, deeply unpopular with United. There was even a fan movement called the Red Army. They have special scarves that are green and yellow, and there are some match days where all the scarves in the stadium were green and yellow, and Manchester United's colours are red. So anyway, that's for background. But English fans are pretty used, although they're as strong and devoted as German football fans. They are used to the fact that their clubs have become toys for rich owners. And there are some advantages to this. Chelsea was acquired by Roman Abramovich, the Russian oligarch and billionaire, in the early 2000s, and has since won the Premier League a couple of times. They've won the Champions League in 2012 and really had the most successful phase in their career. Chelsea's now able to buy players that previously would never have been able to come to this club, including most recently in the past pandemic summer, buying Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, and Silva. And so, there are advantages to having a rich owner. The downside of that is that fans don't really have a say. And this, thanks to the so-called 50+1 rule, is very different in German football. In German football, supporters do have a say. And the reason they do so is, okay, let's just think about this mathematically. If you're thinking of a company and buying stakes in a company, how much of that company do you need to buy to decide what happens? If it's a democratically run company, you need at least 51% so that you have the majority stake. And it's not really so different in soccer. And in '98, the German league, the DFL, which is the name of the league's company, the Bundesliga, introduced a specific rule about that. So this was an age where TV money was coming into European football, clubs were getting richer, the Italian league was very successful, the Premier League was flooded with money, and German clubs were like, okay, well, how do we compete? We need money as well. And besides Bayern Munich, who've always been supported by some big multinational companies, there really wasn't that much investment pouring into German football. There are 2 remarkable exceptions, and that is Wolfsburg. The green and white team based in the northern city of Wolfsburg, the industrial city, was founded by Volkswagen, pretty much as the company team, and is 100% owned by Volkswagen. And the other exception is Bayer Leverkusen, based in the western region of North Rhine-Westphalia, and of course owned by the eponymous pharmaceutical company. Now these were both exempt from the new 50+1 rule, and that is because there was a special permission made saying that if companies or individuals had been involved with a club for 20 years or more before '98, then they could keep their organizational structure and ownership structure. And that was the case for those 2. And It's interesting that this was introduced because, you know, here we have a loophole that was later used by Martin Kind, a rich German businessman, and Hanover 96 supporter, the northern city of Hanover. And he, in 2011, actually went in front of the German court and argued that because he had been involved with Hanover for more than 20 years, this should also apply for him. And so then the part of that rule that said it had to be pre-1998 was scrapped. So now, if you really want to buy a majority stake in a German football club, actually you can, but you have to stick around for 20 years. So that's the 50+1 rule. And it means, for example, that in the case of Schalke, you know, you can only become president of that club, which is more a symbolic role, but it's a very important role, if you're elected so by the members. So think of like when you were playing children's basketball, children's soccer, or doing horse riding, you know, you pay monthly fees. Your parents pay for you. It can be anywhere from like maybe 10 euros to 100 euros a month. And it's, you know, it's just so you can go to training, and it's like, so you're affiliated with that club. And it's the same in German soccer. So I am actually a member of a German professional club. You can probably guess which one, so I'm not going to tell you because I'm a journalist and I like to keep that separate. But I'm a member of a club, and there are 3 huge clubs in Germany that have, you know, hundreds of thousands of members. So think about the scale of that. It's like the population of a small city. So Bayern Munich, for example, has 270,000 members. And they're fee-paying members. Every year they pay, I think, 70 euros in dues. And it means that once a year, those 270,000 members, you know, theoretically all of them can go to Munich for the annual members meeting, and they hear, you know, it's just about clarity, accountability. They hear the financial statements. How much does everyone get paid in the club? How much is being invested in the professional squad? How much is invested in the youth academy? How much is invested in the women's team? And all of this is out there because it's a members club and because of the 50+1 rule. In England, they don't have to do that. I mean, they usually do because they want to attract more investors and sponsors, but they don't have to be accountable to their own supporters with that kind of information. And I've actually been lucky enough to attend a meeting like that. In the winter of 2018, I went to the Bayern Munich members meeting. It was in the Audi Dome in Munich, which is where Bayern Munich's basketball team plays. And it was spectacular because it was a time where Bayern was not doing well in the league. They were like 5th or 6th in the league, which is unheard of for them. And at the end, there's this part of it, like after all the presentations I just mentioned, where members get called up to the stage and anyone can ask for the microphone and just say something. And there was this guy, he was maybe in his early 30s, in a leather jacket. He was actually like infamously later called by the Bayern's then president Uli Hoeneß the guy in the black leather jacket, who pretty much went on a rant saying everything that in his perspective is wrong with the club. And of course that was streamed on national TV, on social media, Twitter, Facebook, everyone went berserk, and he became like an overnight celebrity. And you know, this is not possible in other leagues because no one would listen to someone like that because they don't have that, in this case, literal stage. And the 50+1 rule has been criticized. You know, people are saying it makes German teams less competitive in the European competitions, such as the Champions League, Europa League. A German team has actually not won the Europa League since it was founded. It used to be the UEFA League, and the last German team that won that was Schalke in 1997. So that's almost 25 years ago now. And you know, there are good clubs, but it's always the other leagues that win it. And so right now we're at a stage where, bizarrely enough, a lot of German teams are saying we need to scrap the rules so that we become more competitive. And now you have this hyper-capitalist, successful Premier League saying, you know, the fans there, the base or the heart of the game there is saying, oh no, we actually need to introduce it. So that supporters are elevated and can have a say in the fate of their own clubs, and so that clubs don't go bankrupt when owners get bored with the club and decide to sell it or just decide to spend all their money and get out of there. So that's the 50+1 rule. I've really enjoyed this. It actually helped me scrap up on some of my own financial knowledge. I'd like to give a shout out to Matt Herman of the Bundesliga Fanatic, who appeared on a podcast 2 years ago, and I listened to that this morning, and it really helped inform some of what I just told you. So you should definitely give him a follow and listen to the Bundesliga Fanatic podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Marie Schubo, that's MarieSchubo, and you can find my show on YouTube under Marie's Bundesliga Minutes. Thank you very much.